The ice cracked again. It was faint, almost nothing, but Kira heard it. She sat still inside the listening dome, her breath held. Outside the thick glass, Europa's frozen wasteland stretched in all directions. Smooth white plains and deep scars of ancient ice ridges shimmered under Jupiter's pale orange glow. It was beautiful. It was silent. Until now. Wait. Before we dive into this story, welcome to Dark Orbit Stories, where distant planets hold dark secrets, and every journey takes you deeper into the unknown corners of the universe. Let's roll into the story. Kira leaned closer to the console. The signal had come from deep beneath the surface. A pulse. A whisper. Something not natural. Computer, isolate last sound fragment. Boost low frequencies by 400%. The sound played back. At first, just static. Then, a low, wet sound, like something sliding against metal. Then a click. Then a soft, chilling voice. Kira? She froze. The station lights flickered. The console dimmed. Then came back. Just a glitch, she told herself. Radiation storms often messed with systems on Europa. But the voice had said her name. That wasn't a glitch. She backed away from the console and opened her comms. DMU base, this is listening post, Echo 9. I just picked up something. Unknown signal. It said my name static DMU base. Do you copy only silence? Then, click Kira. She ran diagnostics. Nothing was wrong. No damage, no tampering. The comms were fine, so why couldn't she reach base? Her fingers trembled as she opened the raw logs. She scrolled through the layers of data, skipping sound waves and interference patterns. The anomaly had a shape, a curve, a rhythm. It looked like language. It was trying to talk to her. She rubbed her eyes and stared at the ice outside. Somewhere beneath that frozen crust was a saltwater ocean. Scientists believed it was over 100 kilometers deep. They thought there might be life down there. Bacteria. Maybe plankton, but not something that could talk. She took a deep breath. Computer. Cross-reference signal pattern with known languages, a pause. Then, match found, early human dialect, Proto-Sumerian. How could something buried under Europa's ice speak a language from ancient Earth? She opened the audio again, slowed it down, boosted it. Kira, come down. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Computer, send emergency ping to DMU base. Quote, error, connection lost. The lights dimmed again. Kira turned to the window. The ice had changed. A thin, jagged crack now ran across the plain, and something moved beneath it. A shadow. She pressed her face to the glass. The shadow moved slowly, long. Serpentine. It slid under the ice like a giant eel, then stopped, right beneath her. The whisper came again, this time not from the speakers, but from within the room. Kira. She stumbled back, her breath fogging the cold air. Who are you? What do you want? No answer. Just a long, deep hum, as if the ice itself was breathing. She grabbed her suit and helmet. If she stayed in the dome, she might lose her mind. As she zipped up and locked her helmet, the emergency lights went red. Pressure warning. Structural breach detected. Lower trench. Sector 12. Kira blinked. The lower trench? That was the old mining shaft. Sealed 5 years ago. Nobody had gone down there since the collapse. There were no missions scheduled. No life signs. She switched on her wrist light and climbed into the lift tube. The platform dropped down into the shaft, metal grinding against frozen walls. She passed old, broken cameras, frost-covered ladders, rusted tools. Then she heard it again. A soft, watery voice rising from below. Help me. It didn't say her name this time. It sounded scared, or maybe hurt. She reached the base of the shaft. The walls were slick with frozen condensation. Pipes creaked. A faint light blinked red on the far wall. She walked toward it. There was a metal door sealed with old DMU tape. She pulled it open and froze. Inside the small room was an old cryopod. It was active. Lights on. Power running. Frost covering the glass. Inside it, a human. A woman. Kira stared in shock. The woman looked just like her. Same eyes. Same scar on her chin. Same face. She stepped back in horror. What the hell? Suddenly, the voice came again, right behind her ear. We remember you. Kira turned fast, but no one was there. Then the cryopod door hissed. The woman inside opened her eyes and whispered, "Don't trust them." The lights went out. The emergency lights blinked on and off, red shadows flashing across the room. Kira stood frozen in place, staring at the woman in the cryopod. Her own face, looked back at her. The woman's lips moved again, whispering through fogged glass, "Don't trust them." Kira's mouth was dry. She stepped closer. "Who are you?" The woman's eyes filled with fear. She raised a shaking hand and pointed behind Kira. Kira turned. The corridor behind her was empty. She turned back, but the cryopod was now open. The woman, her double, was gone. No, no, no. Kira backed out of the room, her heart pounding. The cold air bit her face. A strange hum started vibrating through the walls again. It felt alive, like a heartbeat pulsing through the ice, Kira. The voice again, this time, dozens of them, layered, soft. Familiar, Kira. She ran down the shaft toward the lift, but it wasn't there anymore. The metal cables swayed in the cold air. The lift was gone, trapped. She switched to her helmet radio. "Base, please respond. There's someone here, someone who looks like me." No answer, only soft clicking sounds. Then, for a brief second, words "you shouldn't have come down." Her flashlight flickered. Kira turned it toward the corridor and saw a wet trail on the floor, like something had crawled through, melting the frost as it passed. She followed it, not because she wanted to, but because something inside her pulled her forward. The trail led to an old lab. Most of the gear was rusted and covered in frost. But one screen was still on. Static filled it, with faint shapes flickering behind the noise. A log file blinked on the screen. Project Mirror 2. Kira tapped the console. A video began to play, a camera feed from inside the listening dome. She saw herself, or someone like her, sitting at the console. Timestamp, 3 years ago. But she had only arrived on Europa 9 months ago. Another video played. The same woman, same face, speaking into a recorder. "We opened something we shouldn't have. It spoke to me first, then it became me. I don't know which one of us is real anymore." Kira's head spun. This didn't make sense. The whisper returned. "We remember. You were first." Kira backed away from the screen. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw something move in the reflection. Her reflection in the screen blinked. But she didn't. She turned fast. Standing in the doorway was the other Kira. Same face. Same suit. But her eyes were different. Cold. Empty. The other Kira smiled. "They found me first." "But they like you better." Kira stepped back. "What are you?" The woman tilted her head. "I was you. For a while. Then I became more." She took a step forward. "I remember your memories. Your dreams. Your fears. You never told anyone about the accident on Titan, did you?" Kira's breath caught. "How do you know that?" Quote, "The woman smiled wider because I am you." Then her skin flickered, like a shimmer across the surface of water. For a moment her face melted into something else, long, gray, wet, something with no eyes. Kira turned and ran. The whispers screamed behind her now. "You can't leave. They're waiting. You belong to the deep." She reached the end of the corridor and slammed her fist into the emergency release panel. A back tunnel opened. Narrow, ice-covered. She squeezed through, gasping in the freezing air. On the other side, she found an old escape pod chamber. Dusty. Untouched. There were 3 pods, 2 broken. 1 active. She ran to it and hit the boot-up sequence. The pod hissed and powered on. "Please work." Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. Slow. Heavy. She turned to see the other Kira again. Only now, her body wasn't holding together. Parts of her flickered in and out of form. Her skin rippled like liquid. "You're not the first," she said, voice warping. "You won't be the last." Then the shadows behind her moved. More figures emerged. Not just copies of Kira. Others, dozens, all with blank eyes and broken smiles, all whispering, "Come down." Kira dove into the pod and slammed the hatch. The system beeped and began launch sequence. The others reached the glass. They stared at her through it and smiled. The pod launched upward, screaming through the shaft like a bullet. Kira watched as the shadows faded behind her. She didn't breathe until she reached the upper dome again, but the whisper still echoed in her mind. "You left a piece of you behind." She looked down at her arm. A black mark was growing on her skin. It pulsed. The upper dome was quiet. Too quiet. Kira stood in the center of the listening room, gasping for air. Her suit was cracked at the wrist, where she had hit the escape pod controls too hard. The black mark on her arm was still there, just below the skin, like something growing, wriggling. She covered it with her glove. She didn't know what it was. She just knew it wasn't supposed to be there. She looked around the room. Everything seemed normal. The consoles buzzed softly. The lights were steady again. But Kira felt it in her bones. The station was not the same. Something had changed. She tapped the comms panel. "DMU base. This is Echo 9. Please respond." Finally, a voice crackled through ECH-09. "This is base control. What's your status?" Kira's knees almost buckled with relief. "I lost contact. Something's in the lower trench. I saw someone down there. She looked like me." Silence. Then the voice returned. "Say again?" "You saw who?" "She looked exactly like me." Same face. Same voice. "But it wasn't me. I think she came from the ice." The voice paused again. This time, colder. "Return to quarantine chamber." Immediately, Kira froze quarantine. "We detected a foreign signal. Unknown pattern, possibly invasive. Return now." She felt her heart sink. They weren't surprised. They knew something could happen. "Did you know there were others?" she asked. Another long pause. Then the voice replied, "Return to quarantine." Kira backed away from the console. They knew. They had always known. She walked toward the window. The crack in the ice outside was bigger now, a dark slit running across the field like a wound. Something moved beneath it, slow and steady. She touched her arm again. The mark was darker now. She had to leave this place. Kira moved fast. She took only what she needed, a new suit, oxygen packs, and a surface rover. She powered it on and drove toward the ridge, toward the far beacon post where the main DMU uplink was stored. If she could reach it, she could send a message to Earth. Not just to DMU, to everyone. The rover bumped across the frozen plain. Europa's ice was thin in some places. Old cracks, pressure ridges, holes that dropped straight down into the sea. The machine beeped constantly, warning her of weak spots. But she didn't stop. She reached Beacon -4, a tall, black tower with solar panels and a comms dish aimed at Jupiter's relay satellites. She climbed out of the rover. That's when she heard the whisper again. But this time it was a memory. Her mother's voice. "Kira, wake up. You have to let go now." She spun around. No one was there. She turned back to the beacon and saw her reflection in the metal. It wasn't her face. Not completely. The eyes were darker. And smiling. Kira stepped back. "No, I'm still me. I'm still..." But she couldn't finish the sentence, because suddenly she remembered things she had never lived, memories that didn't belong to her. Swimming in deep black water, singing without sound, looking up at the ice from below, as if she had been one of them. "No," she whispered. "They didn't just copy me, they put something in me." She climbed into the beacon's signal bay and started broadcasting Mayday. "This is Kira Chen, DMU researcher on Europa. Something is beneath the ice. It's alive. It can mimic, I think it..." She stopped, because in the corner of the room stood another version of her, barefoot, soaking wet, eyes wide and calm. This one didn't speak. It only pointed upward. Kira looked. The ceiling of the beacon chamber was ice-covered glass. Above it, the stars. But now one of them blinked, then moved, then opened. It was an eye. Huge. Watching from orbit. Watching her. Kira backed against the wall. "What are you?" The figure stepped closer. Its voice was soft, familiar. "You're the last." The others chose the deep. "You ran." "I'm human," Kira said. The figure tilted its head. "Then why do you remember our ocean?" Kira clenched her fists. She was shaking. She didn't know if she was hallucinating or dreaming or still trapped in the pod, but one thing was clear. She wasn't fully human anymore, and she wasn't alone in her body. She had brought something back with her. The black mark on her arm began to split. Tiny black threads pushed out of her skin, writhing, like roots, like feelers. Her scream was lost in the wind. Kira fell to her knees in the beacon tower. The black threads from her arm curled into the air like smoke, thin and alive. They didn't hurt. They felt cold, like seawater, like something ancient brushing her skin. The other Kira, the wet one, stood silently beside her, watching. "You're changing," the figure said softly. "No," Kira whispered. "I won't let it." The figure walked closer. Her eyes shimmered like deep ice. "You already did. The moment you heard us. The moment you listened." Kira clutched her arm, trying to force the threads back in. But they moved on their own now, reaching toward the walls, sensing vibrations in the air. The beacon lights flickered. "Your people came here for life," the voice said. "You thought it would be simple. Small." Harmless, Kira looked up, teeth clenched. "We didn't know." "You never do," the other said. "But still we sang." "You heard us." Kira stood slowly. Her hands shook. "You tricked me. You copied me. You made others. We gave memory. We gave truth. I don't want it." The other Kira smiled sadly. "Then why does your heart feel more full now than ever before?" Kira didn't answer. Because deep inside, beneath the panic, something had changed. She remembered being part of something larger, an ocean with no surface, a voice made of millions, all speaking as one. She remembered peace, but it wasn't hers. It belonged to them. And now it was inside her. The beacon console blinked. The Earth connection was active. Kira stared at it. Her hand hovered over the controls. She could send the message. A warning. Tell Earth not to come. Tell them what lived beneath Europa. Tell them what waited in the dark. But would they listen? Would she? The other Kira walked to the glass wall. Outside, the cracked ice pulsed with a dull blue glow. Shapes swam beneath it. Long, smooth, shifting. Hundreds of them. "Maybe thousands, they remember you," the other Kira said. "They wait." Kira turned back to the console. Her finger trembled over the transmit button. She saw herself reflected in the glass again. This time, her face looked hollow, tired. Her eyes, not fully human anymore. She knew then. There was no saving herself. But maybe she could save the rest. She pressed the button. "This is Kira Chen, ECH-09, Europa station. If anyone is hearing this, stay away. Do not land. Do not drill. Do not listen. The ice is not dead. It remembers. And now so do I." She sent the transmission, then turned off the beacon. The other Kira walked toward her. "You chose them." "No," Kira whispered. "I chose truth outside." The cracks in the ice spread wider. The ground trembled. A soft song rose from below, not in words, but in feeling. Warmth, memory, welcome. Kira walked out of the tower and onto the ice. She took off her helmet. The cold didn't bite anymore. She looked up one last time at Jupiter, then let herself fall into the widening crack. The ice closed behind her. Europa was silent again. Far above, Earth received the signal, but it was already too late. A second voice had followed the message, one that whispered in every language. "Come down.